everybody, this is Petey from BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.net, and here we are with a brand new series. This time around, we're going to be creating our RPG character controller for our Hack and Slash series. And originally, I wanted to postpone this one to a little bit further into the development of the other systems. But since Mixamo right now has all of their animations on free, I want to go ahead and at least start this one now, just so we can actually go ahead and I'll take advantage of those free animations since they are really good. And we'll just create a basic one to start off with. So let's go ahead, we'll jump into Unity. I've gone ahead, created a new project. There's absolutely nothing in here except for the directional light and the camera that we get. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with going to the asset store. So we'll go up to the window, come down to the asset store, which is, where is it? Right there, number 9. And if you don't have an account at the asset store, go ahead and make one now. If you do, great. Let's go ahead. We'll jump right into the search. And we'll just go straight to Mixamo. And everything on their website is free right now as well. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with what they have in the asset store, just to start with. So there's 2 packs here you're going to want to look at. The Magic Pack and the Melee Axe Pack. I'm going to go ahead and just point out that they actually are free. And I am going to go ahead and get them. But right now, I want to keep my project as clean as possible. Feel free to go ahead and download these and maybe just stash them to the side for now, because I don't know how long they're going to be free. And I would hate for people just to miss out on it. But anyway, go ahead. I wanted to point this out. Grab those, just download them, set them aside until we're actually going to use them. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go to their website. So here we are at their website. Now, Adobe has bought Mixamo, and that's why the assets are free right now. Again, I'm not sure how long they will be free, so let's go ahead and pick them up. If you have an Adobe account, you can go ahead and log in with that. The same thing if you have a Mixamo account, you can create your Adobe ID account and link them. So go ahead and make the account either way you want. I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in. And once we're logged in, I'm going to go ahead and go to the store. And I'm going to start off with the featured area. And these are packs. If we go ahead and actually pick one, and I recommend adding all of them, but let's go ahead and we'll pick one. It shows all the animations here. We can also click Customize Pack. And you can do some stuff with this, like override certain things. We're going to start with this one because it's nice and simple, very basic. But again, I would go ahead and click Add to My Assets. Now, there is one thing you might want to take note of, is that we actually have other characters that you can get and put in your game as well. To be honest, I'm probably going to be using something else from the asset store. I don't think I'm going to be using any of these for my RPG game. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep the default one that they have here, this little blue dude. And I'm going to click Add to My Assets. It's going to go ahead. You get this message here of all this stuff added. I'm going to come up to my assets. Here we are here. I'm going to go to animations. And we have all these animations here. And to be honest, I think I grabbed a bunch of these from when I was visiting earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these and redo it. I just want to make sure I have nothing in there. My character, I think everyone gets the beta by default. It doesn't matter. We can get that from those packages from the asset store. So I'm going to come back to the store. I'm just going to take the male locomotion, I think it was it? Yeah, locomotion pack. I'll go ahead, view, download again. So we'll come back into my animations, and here they are. Go ahead, select it. And here's all the animations here. All I'm going to do is make sure that it is selected, queue for download. And for format, I'm going to take FBX for Unity. We're going to take the T-pose. Now here, I'm not really sure what we should be picking, but I'm going to go ahead and take the 60 frames a second option. By all means, if you know something different, go ahead and let me know. And keyframe reduction, again, I'm just going to pick none because I know Unity has that built in as well. I'll go ahead and queue my download. As you can see, it's going to be processing. I guess depending how busy the store is, it might take you a little bit longer. Go ahead, we'll download this, and you'll get it as a zip file. So with that done, I'm actually going to close my project. I've got the zip file unzipped right here, and here we go. We have all the FBX animations. I'm going to come back into Unity, and I got to put them in here. So the easiest way for that is just to go ahead, shrink it down, just take beta. I'm going to drag it into the assets folder here. We'll go ahead, we'll maximize now. And I want to change this a bit. I want to change the hierarchy. I want it to have an animation folder. And I'll stick beta under that. There we go. So we have all these FBXs, and we're going to go ahead and go to the scene view. And let's take a look at the very first one, beta. This is actually your model. If you took this and dragged it into the scene, that is your model. And if we take a look at it, there's a few things we want to take note of here. Now this already comes with an avatar. I'm gonna go ahead and delete it from the scene. Some assets that you get off the asset store are not going to come with the avatar. So basically they're not set up for Mecanim yet. So let's run through that process on how it works. And we've actually got avatars on everything. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to delete the avatar here, or not. But if for some reason the asset that you want to use doesn't have an avatar already on it, just go ahead and select it. Go over to the rig section. And we've actually got to fix this up anyway. What you're going to want to do is go ahead and pick humanoid and create from this model. And we can also copy from another model, but for this first one that we're setting up, we're actually going to go ahead and use this model. I'm going to hit apply. And we notice we've got the check mark here, meaning that it's all great. But if it wasn't, we could go in. I have nothing in my scene right now, so I'm not going to bother saving it. And what that does is open up a scene with that character in a T-pose. And what you want to do is pay attention to, well, make sure everything is green. You can also zoom in and actually take a look at all the different bones that we have on our model. Notice we got all the little fingers. Do we have toes? We don't have toes. Another way to look too is we can zoom in here. It shows what bones we actually have automatically set. And I'll go ahead and try to find a model that doesn't import properly. I took a quick look at a few on the asset store, but they all imported pretty good for me. So I know there's got to be some out there that I just haven't discovered, but anyway, if we come across one, I'll go ahead and we'll run through on how to fix it. So anyway, that's all done. So what I'm going to do is go over to animation. And since we're on this main one here, it comes with one animation, the mixamo.com, which I believe does nothing, right? We're going to go ahead and take a look at this. Make sure it's selected, hit play. It does nothing, right? Yeah, great. So let's go ahead and actually start creating our animation state machine. So what I'm going to do is go ahead, drag this into the scene again. I want to look at it from the front. About there. I don't want to get into any scripting yet. So we're going to do everything inside of Mecanim. All right. So the first thing you notice that it actually does come with an animator component, and everything here is filled out for us. We're not going to touch anything. We do want to use root motion. What root motion does is it allows the animations to drive the character. So the walk animation will make the character walk. So instead of using the transform or rigid body to move your character, you can rely solely on the animation. And the really cool thing about that is if you all of a sudden play your animation at twice the speed, and let's say it's the walk animation, or let's make it the run, your character actually run twice as fast. It's pretty cool. I like using root motion personally. But we don't have a controller yet, but we can go ahead and make one of those. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and make it in here. So we're going to go into create an animator controller. And I'm just going to call it, let's just call it beta. It's the one that's going with the beta. And I'll select him again. And I'm going to go ahead and drop it on there. And I believe if you just double click it, it'll open it, right? Yeah. If you double click it, it opens up the animator window. If for some reason it's not, we can come up to the top, go to the window, and animator. Make sure you open the animator and not the animation. The animation window, if we take a look here, completely different. Now you actually can use this to do some things with the animations, but we're not going to be working with that. Let's go ahead, we'll stick to the game view. And there's three things in here that we want to look at. We have the entry, basically when the game starts, when you first start this state machine that you're going to be using for your animation, this is where it enters from. Any state, well, we'll talk about any exit later on. For now, let's just go ahead and actually get something going here with this dude. And do we have an idle? We do have an idle. So let's go ahead, we're going to select the idle, and I'm going to stay in the animation. And we actually have nothing here, no model available for preview. So let's go ahead and take that beta. We're going to rig, update reference clips. Now let's come down to idle. Go over to animation, and here we go. It updated all of our reference clips. And while I'm here, let's make sure that it's actually copied from other avatar. Yes. And the avatar we're using is the beta avatar right here. I wonder if that's why I couldn't delete it. It's on all of them. There we go. See, by referencing the beta avatar, it got rid of all the other avatars that were here, which is great because you don't really need all the extra ones. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink this up one more time. Take the idle. Let's jump back into animation. And if we just go ahead and play, take a look here. Let's zoom in a bit. He's got a little bit of movement. Not a whole lot. Do we have any other idles? No. What about walking? We'll take a look at the walking one. There we go. But we're going to start off with idle. So how do we add it here? There's a couple ways we can do it. One is create state. And we will create an empty one. And we can just go ahead, call this idle. And it's going to say, hey, What motion do we want? We'll come down here to idle. And we can just drop that in like that. And if we go ahead and hit play, our character actually goes into idle. The camera's a little far out. Let's move it a little bit closer so we can actually see some movement on him. And let's also turn him around so we're actually looking at the front. So I'm going to rotate him 180 on the Y. And move much closer to the camera. Now if we go ahead, hit play. We see there's a little bit of movement here. Great, he's in the idle animation. And you can also come over to the animator window and you'll see that it played. Now it just played and ended. And that's not what we want. While we're in idle, we want it to loop. Now, there's a lot of stuff we're going to have to cover in Mecanim. But just to start off with, I just want to get it up and running, get you to have a few animations in there. Mostly just go to Mixamo and make sure you download those animations because those are the ones I'm going to be using for our character controller, at least to start off with. Something better might come along. So anyway, that was the one way we could go ahead and make the idle animation, and apparently I didn't save it. But there's another way. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. You can actually just go ahead and take the idle clip itself and drag it in. And it will take on the name of whatever the clip is. And I like mine capitalized, but only the first letter. And it works exactly the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on foot IK. Do we have tooltips? No. Basically, as the foot moves around, it can control the rest of the body. But let's go ahead. I'm going to look. Oh man, I did it again. There we go. So go ahead and click that motion up here. It'll show us down here. Make sure you click the top part, the FBX. And we're going to look at a few things here. Try not to shrink it down too much. I guess we'll scroll. Let's just scroll it up. All right, so we're going to come down. Let's see. I want to keep the keyframe reduction. Sure. I'm going to come down here. Loop time. You want to click this because you want the pose to keep looping. So now, we got to apply it. And there's an apply button down here. Now, if we take a look here, as the idle animation plays along, when it gets to the end, it's just going to loop. That's what we want. And there's a few other things here too. Basically, for things like the root transform Y position, if you had an animation where your character bobbed around up and down, clicking the baking into the pose will make sure he doesn't, like go under the ground and float and whatnot. It keeps his Y centered based on whatever you have it set up as. So I'm going to try to stretch this out a bit based upon at start. The origin, we have center of mass, which is just the center of mass of whatever your character is currently doing. So if he's curled up in a ball doing a flip in the air, the center of the mass will be in the center. Maybe he's shaped like doing a letter L or something, or maybe doing the YMCA emote. The center of the mass is going to change. And you can also set it to the feet. I'm just going to keep it as origin for now. Same thing for root transform. If we go ahead and take a look at the center here, I want to keep that, bake it into the pose too, so he's not moving around on the X and the Y. And I don't want them rotating around as well. So I'm going to go ahead and bake all three of those in. And that's it for that. Whoops, again, I keep forgetting to hit apply. After you make some changes, you do have to hit apply. Luckily, when I hit play, it does it for me. So take a look here. Nothing that special happened. It's a very basic animation. But it's on there. We haven't written a line of code yet. So let's go on. We'll do something else. Now I want to start walking. And we're going to go ahead and shrink those up. Nope, I said shrink them up. And let's get a little more room over here. And let's do, where's the walk? Here's walk. Nope, here's walk. And we're going to go ahead. I'll just drag this in. I don't know, I'll just throw it up here for now. You can move these around. And again, I like capital W, foot IK. And transitions we're going to be getting into. Again, I'm going over a lot of these things very quickly simply because I just want to get us started. I want to make sure that I just wanted something out there so that you can go out, pick up those animations and start. So now we're going to start making transitions. We want to be able to go from walk to idle. And then we also want to go from walking back to idle. And we can do this simply by clicking idle. And one thing I did not point out that I do want to point out, the first animation you add to your scene will become your default animation. And you can tell which one's the default because it's orange. But let's go, we'll make a transition to walking. Then we'll make another one from walking to idle. And you can tell which way they go because of the arrow. And if we went ahead and just hit play here, we can go ahead, maybe we should have picked something with a faster idle animation or at least sped it up. But anyway, if we go ahead and we take a look here, it's just going to go ahead And once it fills up, it jumps up to the walk, and we see the move. Let's try to get in on him. There we go. He takes a few more steps, and that's cool, but that's not really how we want it to behave, right? So let's come in. We want to be able to create some sort of control that allows us to say, hey, when something happens, start walking. And when something happens again, stop walking. And we can do that by coming over here to the parameters, and we'll create one. And I'm going to go ahead and create a float. And I'm just going to call mine forward for now. And the way I want this to work is if it's 0, that means we're idle. We're not moving. If it's +1, I want to move forward. Or actually, if it's anything over 1, I want it to move forward. Oh, sorry, if it's over 0. And we can do that by going ahead and selecting these transitions we made. And in Unity 5, I uncheck has exit time. I don't want it to play the whole animation before it goes on to the next one, before it moves on to the transition. I'm actually going to open this up. Yeah, there's nothing else in here I want to do. So I'm just going to uncheck has exit time. And we're going to get a little thing here saying that the transition needs at least one condition or an exit time to be valid, otherwise it will be ignored. And we're going to go ahead and add a condition. So we'll go ahead and click the little plus button. And the condition is going to be based on forward. Right now we only have the 1. And what we want is greater than 0, which is actually perfect. So when this value is greater than 0, we'll go into the walking animation. And let's go ahead. We'll take a look at that now. So I'll go ahead and hit play. And we'll let it run through. We'll see it once it hits the idle, the full length. It should just start idle again. There we go. Let's go ahead and we'll increase this value here. And I'll just go to 1. And there we go. He starts walking and walking and walking. And maybe we should have kept him back. So he's taking a step and stopping. And if you notice, he's turning. His walking is not straight. So that's not what we want. We're going to have to fix that as well. But before we do that, let's find a way to make him stop walking. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just move him back a bit. And we'll go back into the animator. And I'm going to click the other transition that goes from walking to idle. Again, I'm going to uncheck exit time. I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to do when the forward is less than, well, we can't say equal to 0, which is a shame. I wish we could, but we can say when it's less than 0.1. And to be honest, I'm going to go ahead and change the transition from idle to walk to when it's greater than 0.1. So we have that little small dead zone where nothing moves. He's not either going to walking or idle, but it's a very small one. And now if we go ahead and start it up, and we go put it to 1, it's no longer looping. So let's go ahead and take a look at its animation. So it's down here. And we haven't done anything with it. So right here, we need the loop animation, right? We want that. I don't want my character to rotate, and I do want to keep this up here. So if we go ahead and hit play now, we'll see that it walks. And if you take a look at this little red line and blue arrow, we notice how it's veering off more and more to one side. We want to fix that. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to loop pose. Stop it. I'm going to go ahead and do the root transform rotation. I'm going to bake that in because I don't want that either. And I'm going to start with, do I want origin? I'll probably want the other one. Maybe not. Yeah, it looks like he's starting to drift over the line. Ever so slightly. So I'm just going to take the origin. Now it shouldn't move at all. But he is. We don't want him moving up and down, but we do want him moving on the X and Z. The loop match does not work. And we can take a look here. Is there a spot where, well, everything fits? No. I'm just going to go ahead and keep that. And let's take a look here. I think that one's the best, right? No, it looks like he's still moving. Well, let's go ahead. We'll try it out. We'll hit apply. And let's put him to 1 as a default. And we'll just start him out. And we'll just watch him. And if we go ahead and click here, He is drifting a bit on the X, but it could be, what position? He starts off at 0, 0. He's got 180. I'm going to start him off at -10, which apparently is really far. Which apparently is at the camera. I'm at 10. Let's start this up. So he's drifting ever so slightly, so we're going to have to fix that. And a lot of that is actually just going in and doing some tweaking. Make sure I've got nothing here set up wrong. Nope. Okay, we'll go back into the walk animation. And if we take a look here at the angular velocity, we've got the Y set. We really want to get this one down to 0 as well. So I've got it down to 0.001, which is extremely small. I always feel better hitting at 0. I've had quite a few that have been really small values though, and it doesn't really show up in game. So let's go ahead, we'll hit apply. There are my current settings. I'm going to hit play. And we'll select them. And as you can see here, it's pretty straight. It's up and down between 1 point something and 6 point something, or 0.06 something. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So there we go. We have our first animation done in Mecanim. And of course, if we go into the animator, I'm going to put it down here. We'll go ahead, put that to 0, and it stops. But anyway, this was just a quick video I wanted to make to show you roughly how to use Mecanim. We're going to be digging pretty deep into a lot of these things as we develop our RPG character controller. But make sure you go to Mixable and grab all of those things. And grab the ones that I pointed out on the asset store. We'll be playing with those as well. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you're pretty excited about this series and you want me to move this one up a little bit further in the list of components that I'm making for the hack and slash game, go ahead and let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. So if you like the video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. It really does help me out here on YouTube. And go ahead and follow me on Twitter. You're a pretty chatty guy over there when I'm not walking through a forest or being stalked by eagles and falcons, lions, tigers, and bears.